crime. They make up Russia, 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 which was a plan made up by crooked Hillary Clinton, Adam Shifty Schiff, and the Democrats, the DNC. They then made up a fake phone call. They took a phone call that was perfect, and they pretended that I said things that weren't even in there. They actually imitated. Remember Schiff? He stood up in Congress, and he repeated the call like I was a gangster, over and over again, quid pro quo. Remember the term, quid pro quo? But there wasn't. I called downstairs at the White House. I said, listen, do we have that call taped? Because there's no way I said those things. And they called back and tell me, yes, sir, we do, essentially. We had transcripts of the call. Thank goodness we had transcripts, because these guys they're sick people, and they were looking to do a number. I'll tell you how bad they are. So, and I tell this story seldom, but it's a strong story, Monica. Thank you very much for the great job you do, by the way. What a defender she is. But they're so bad. So they come up with this Russia, Russia, Russia hoax. And they know it's a hoax. They know it's a hoax. I know it's a hoax, too. But they know it's a hoax. And Adam Shifty Schiff comes out from a very secretive room, intelligence committee or whatever, and he meets the press right in front. The press is going crazy. They're going crazy because they'll do anything to hurt Trump. Anything. They're evil people in many cases. Some cases, they're great people. But a lot of evil people. And he stands up before a microphone. Now, this is a man who knows it's a fake story. Russia, Russia, Russia. They checked 6 years of phone calls, millions of calls were made from my office. Not one call to Russia. Not one call. They were surprised. They weren't surprised, but some people were surprised. But he stood up before the microphones, and he said, Donald Trump Jr. will go to prison for what he has done with Russia. My son is going to go to prison. He said, my son's going to go to prison for what he's done with Russia. And my son didn't have anything to do with it. And he knew it was a fake story. And when it was finally revealed, now the Times, the Washington Post, they all admit it was a fake story. We're trying to get the Pulitzer Prize taken away. They got Pulitzer Prizes. We're suing. You know what the prize says? For its concise and accurate reporting on the Russia, Russia, Russia event. And they have it actually totally wrong. Actually, Mark Levin should get a prize. And Greg Jarrett should get a prize. And even it's not his deal, Sean Hannity should get a prize. And frankly, Jesse should get a prize. Jesse should. And a lot of people, and I'll tell you, you know who should get a prize? Tucker should get a prize. Tucker Carlson. They're very strong. And we have numerous writers that should get it, but the ones that got it were the New York Times, certain reporters from the New York Times, and certain reporters from the Washington Post. They got the Pulitzer Prize, and they were exactly wrong. And now they've even admitted that it was a hoax. It was a total hoax, and they got the prize. But how bad is a person that stands before a big gaggle of press, and they just can't get enough, and says that my son is going to prison for something that he knows was a hoax? Only a really bad person would do that. But they then came in with Ukraine, 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 the Mueller hoax. How did Mueller present himself at the hearings? It wasn't too pretty. But you know what? I'll say this, at least they came to the right conclusion. Because I was concerned they'd come to the conclusion. I think we have prosecutors now, they don't give a damn if you're guilty. They're looking at me in Atlanta on a perfect phone call. I said, even more perfect than my perfect call to Ukraine. That was a perfect call. This is even more perfect. By the way, where's Hunter? Where is Hunter? Remember? Where's Hunter? Will there ever be a time when Joe Biden says, this thing with Hunter just isn't working out well? I'm starting to get a little angry at Hunter. Or when Hunter comes to him and says, Dad, we have a problem. What? What is it, son? Another one? Oh, son, you're a disaster, son. Son, you're a disaster. Dad, we have a problem. I left my laptop at the repair shop. And Joe looks at him and says, what's on it, son? What's on it? And Hunter looks back and he says, every single crime that you've ever committed, Dad. And hence it's called The Laptop from Hell. And Miranda Devine did a great book on that. And she actually thanked me. She said, I got the name from Trump. She told me, she said, I want to thank you for the name. I said, no charge. But she did a great job, great book, The Laptop from Hell. If I so much as fly over a blue state, they do so many bad things, it's just crazy. The racist Manhattan District Attorney, Alvin Bragg, who is presiding over one of the most dangerous and violent cities in the United States. You have to see this, the United States, where killings are taking place at a number like nobody's ever seen, right in Manhattan. And he's doing nothing about it, nothing whatsoever. No cash bail for people that just kill people, knife them in the back, hit them over the head with a baseball bat, push them into subways when the train is right there. But this racist DA is being pushed by radical left Democrats, the fake news media, and the Department of Injustice to bring charges against me for now ancient no-affair story of Stormy Horseface Daniels, no attraction. No affair, I call it no affair. Where there's no crime anyway, and charges have never been brought in such a case before. And this case has been looked by every prosecutor. They're all looking, they looked at it for years now. She was represented by Michael Avenatti. How's he doing? He's now in jail. And the whole thing is a complete con job. And she was ordered to pay me, a federal court ordered this, hundreds of thousands of dollars. But they're still looking at it. They're still looking. And all they do is they cause anger and problems for our country because our people aren't going to take this stuff. It never ends. In the meantime, Hunter and Joe Biden skate. You know, they skate. They go away free. What's going on with that? I mean, that laptop is a disaster. Has anyone read this thing? How can it be possible? They're looking in Delaware. How's he doing? He's not the same guy that I have for the document hoax. I have a man, he's a total animal, known to be. And he's looking. In the meantime, Biden's guy that's looking. Don't forget, I had a very strong privilege as president. I was able to do things that he wasn't able to do as vice president and wasn't able to do as a senator. The Senate, even the Senate, they can't believe it. The Senate cannot believe it. But when you look at what happened, they're not even looking at him. They haven't even started. Congress and various radical left Democrat prosecutors, in an effort to stop me, go to the Supreme Court twice. They went twice, and the Supreme Court, in a moment of total weakness, gives them everything they want in order to try and prosecute Trump, everything. Thank you very much, Supreme Court, I appreciate it. But they found nothing. They looked at 11 million pages of documents. It's a big company, it's a great company. Remember my taxes? We're after his taxes. 5 years I heard about my taxes. They came out about 2 months ago. Everyone said, wow, it's a great company he built. That's great. That's the end of it. No, right? And you know, I had the biggest and most prestigious, one of them at least, law firms, accounting firms, doing all this stuff. I don't do it. They do it. You rely on these people. They do it. But I didn't hear one word. And how stupid am I telling you this story right now? Because now they say, we got to find something in there. He made a typographical error. There's a revolution going on within the FBI because they don't want to be doing what they're being told to do because they know right from wrong. I'm talking about the people that work in the FBI. And they like me and they like you a lot. So many of them. A recent article in the Washington Post of all paper stated very succinctly that many did not want to raid Mar-a-Lago. They didn't want the agents. They said, that's terrible. But they were forced to do so by their Marxist radical left leadership. And it drove my popularity numbers through the roof. Who would think this? I got impeached and I went up 11 points. It's not supposed to work that way. Mark, when Nixon got impeached, it went down, right? It was a spiral down. He couldn't stop it. I got impeached, we went up. But the FBI people, they didn't want to do this. To those in the FBI that are with us, I want to thank you very much. I really do. I want to thank you. Stay strong. Stay strong. Help is coming. Then there's the racist DA from Atlanta, whose city is among the most violent and dangerous places per capita in the country. More murders than even Chicago per capita. It's totally out of control, and yet she has her kangaroo court focused on a perfect phone call that I made, while her jury foreman, a rather bizarre young woman, is going around doing media interviews and saying exactly what's going on in this one of many grand juries. Our opponents do anything they can to hurt me politically because they're afraid of me and they're afraid of you. That's what it is. But it's not supposed to work that way. The disinformation, people say they are great at disinformation. The one we want to run against is Trump. Do you ever hear that? Oh, we want to run against Trump. Even though I'm leading every one of these guys, and even though I won the second election, okay, I won it by a lot. You know, when they say Biden won, the smart people know that, didn't they? But right now we're way up. But they say, oh, we want to run against Trump. They always say that. They say that about everybody. When they have somebody that they don't want to run against, a governor, a senator, they say, we want to run against, because it's like demeaning. You know, in other words, like you're supposed to be a schlemiel that, I mean, I got 75 million votes. I got more votes than any sitting president in history the second time. And we really did. We did a much better job than we did in 2016. 2020, we did better than 2016. But they say, we want to run against Trump. In the meantime, they're spending hundreds of millions of dollars trying to find just a single word, a sentence, anything, to prosecute Trump because they don't want to run against me. That's what they say. We want to run against Trump. We'll do anything to run against Trump. They have the greatest line of bullshit of any group of people I've ever seen. Want to run against Trump. But at the same time, they send people from the Justice Department to the local DA's office in Manhattan. Do you know the Justice Department sent their top people to the Manhattan DA's office to help in the prosecution of Trump? This way, we have it a little bit away from Washington. It's local. Oh, we had nothing to do. But their top guy was put in that office to help prosecute Trump. How would you like to have my life? Would anybody like my life? But I still like it. But they want to try and find anything they can when they've already been exonerated. I've been exonerated many times. You take a look at what this been. I mean, time after time. But all of this is happening for one single reason. They know that when we return to power, we will bring their lies and their corruption and their disinformation tumbling down. Our getting back in the White House is their worst nightmare, but it is our country's only hope. It's our only hope. If we don't get back, now this country can't take it. Even the 2 years, and now fortunately it's less than that. It's hard to believe it's less. I used to say 4 years. A lot of people said, well, sir, the election was so bad. You'll be in 1 year. A lot of people in this room, you'll be back in 6 weeks, sir. But it's a bad system in many ways, very bad, very dangerous system. But nobody else can do it but us. In recent weeks, I've been laying out a bold, detailed agenda for how we're going to complete this mission in our next term. I do weekly statements, and people are liking them. Today, I want to go through some of our big plans that I will do as the 47th President of the United States. Thank you. At the top of my list, we'll be stopping the slide into costly and never-ending wars. We've got to stop it. Can't keep spending hundreds of billions of dollars protecting people that don't even like us. Now, you know, in business, if you did that, what you do is you put up the money and then you say, but listen, we own half your country in case you win. You know, you take a piece of the upside, right? We get nothing. In fact, the opposite. We put up the money, and then after it's finished, assuming it's successful, let's say it's successful, they don't want to even talk to us. No, you have nothing to do with us. Get out of here. You have nothing. No. In business, you put up money, seed money, call it whatever you want. You end up owning the country by the time it's over. And the only reason they're doing well is we're giving them the greatest equipment that I bought, the greatest equipment ever made. And the only reason they're doing well with NATO is I raised $440 billion from countries that weren't paying anything. And the Secretary General Stoltenberg, a good man, he said it's one of the greatest jobs I've ever seen. I hope he still says that, but one of the greatest jobs. He said Obama would come and make a speech. Bush would come, make a speech, and then they'd leave. I came, I looked, I said, man, these people aren't paying. We're paying for the whole thing practically. Of the 28 countries at the time, only 8 were paid up. 20 weren't, including Germany. They paid a fraction of what they were supposed to be paying. And I said to him, either you pay, or we're not going to protect you. And a man stood up, a president of a country stood up, and he said, sir, could I ask you a question? This was a round table with nobody in the room but the presidents, prime ministers, and dictators, okay? Some of them are all the same. But they stood up, and he stood up and said, sir, could I ask you a question? If we don't pay up, and if we get attacked by Russia, will you protect us, sir? I said, now you're not paid up, right? That's right. You're delinquent, right? Yes. I will not protect you from Russia. Sir, we'll send you a check tomorrow, sir. We'll send you a check tomorrow. It will be sent by overnight mail, sir. I promise you'll have it tomorrow. Now, if I said, like the stupid politicians say, absolutely will be, you know, Article 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, well, you're supposed to do it. But those articles all suppose that you're supposed to be paid up. But let's say I said the opposite. Yes, we will always protect you. You know, I took a lot of heat because they said, I'm not a good member. Actually, NATO wouldn't even exist if I didn't get them to pay up. But they paid up $449 billion or something, and that's the money they use. They're rich as hell right now. They spent an office building that cost $3 billion. It's like a skyscraper in Manhattan laid on its side. It's one of the longest buildings I've ever seen. And I said, you should have, instead of spending $3 billion, you should have spent $500 million building the greatest bunker you've ever seen, because Russia wouldn't even need an airplane attack. One tank, one shot through that beautiful glass building and it's gone. Same architect I used in Chicago, great architects, but they didn't have war in mind. But when things happened, that building would be gone in about 15 minutes. They should have spent a $500 million bunker, nice thick ceiling, 6 inches, 6 feet of concrete. And by the way, we have a great gentleman. Speaking of China, will you please stand up? Gordon, stand up, please. Gordon China. You know, I'm talking a lot about China, and I'm looking over, I'm saying him, and I'm just studying his face as I'm speaking, because people do like me to go off script a little bit, right? It's a little bit more risky, but it's more exciting. And I'm looking at Gordon, and I'm saying, you know, I hope he agrees with what I'm saying, but basically I'm saying exactly what you say. They're not out for our good, are they? They're not out for our good. And nobody ever taxed them like I did, and nobody ever took any money in like I did. $440 billion. We took in so much money from China. It's so incredible. So it's an honor to have you here. Really, it is. I agree with almost everything you said. Almost everything. Great. Thank you very much. Thank you, madam. Thank you very much. Great job, both of you. I was the only president in decades that didn't have a war, but I completed wars that were already started, including defeating 100% of the ISIS caliphate. 100%. I was also the only president where Russia didn't take over a country during my term. Russia took over not because I got along with Vladimir Putin very well. I said, Vladimir, don't do it. You know, you and I are friends. Don't take over any countries because, you know, Moscow will be hit very hard. Well, I told him things. He probably didn't believe it, but you know what? He believed it 10%. And President Xi believed it when I talked about Beijing. He probably said, I don't believe him, but there's a 10% chance we're not going to do anything. It's true. It's true. You have no idea. These conversations, I wish they could have been recorded.